Welcome to the Dumb Idea Podcast with Mike and Alex. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share this video or podcast on any platform that you're listening on. Please visit us at www.dumbideapodcast.com.
All right, welcome back, everyone. It's been an interesting couple weeks with what's been going on, both in the U.S. and in Canada with our neighbors to the north. A lot of the restrictions are being lifted, and COVID restrictions are being lifted in certain jurisdictions, certain areas, certain facets of life. I know D.C. just lifted theirs for everything but schools, I believe. So you go to the strip club and the bar and the Caps game, but if you want to go to fourth grade, or you got to wear your mask. So, which is there's been if you look at the timing and everything, it's kind of makes you raise an eyebrow, but we can talk about that later. And then, meanwhile, in Canada, we have the trucker convoy. What are they calling themselves? Is it the Freedom Convoy?
I believe it was the Freedom Convoy.
Okay. You tell I did my research on this one.
This is going to be a rough episode.
But who they drove to, and this is the first time this has happened. So it's happened in the district before, where the trucks will come in and they'll kind of hang out for a day and mess traffic up, and then they leave. I forgot why they did it the last time, but when you have the some of the motorcycle protests when they come in, and even not protests, but the veterans ride and the POW MIA ride when they come through, it becomes a bit of it's almost an event. So and they mess up traffic real bad too for anyone that's in the area. But I guess that to me is that's for a good cause. Not the other stuff isn't, but that's like in honor of our veterans.
That's why I always equated the motorcycle rides to veterans, because POWMIA, that group, generally has the motorcycle rides. Yeah,
and they come in and they're pretty organized and they're in and out. And they usually do it on a holiday anyway, so nobody's in town.
They mess up traffic for a weekend.
Yeah, big deal.
And most times when it's coming.
Yeah,
weeks in advance, right? I think that trucker one you talked about, though, I think when truckers do it, it's usually in response to a gas tax hike.
Mm-hmm.
Truckers and gas work weird. Like, they have fuel rewards cards, so they can get discounts on gas or diesel. They get discounts on diesel, but then somehow it's tied into their company. Like, I don't know exactly how it works, but they're very affected by diesel prices.
Yeah.
And so I think at one point there was supposed to be a fairly decent hike in the federal gas tax. Because I think, so gas gets taxed federally.
Yes.
It also gets taxed locally, though.
Yep. And trucks have it. So whenever you're driving along and you see a truck and you see the driver's side door, and it'll have all these stickers. A truck will have a DOT number. It'll have some other different numbers, and it'll have they'll call it an IFTA sticker, IFTA, mm-hmm. which is Interstate Fuel Tax Assessment or something like that. So they have that. They pay another tax in addition to the regular fuel tax that everyone else pays. And then when the government raises it, because as vehicles get more efficient, they use less fuel, which leads to less revenue and that's how the Interstate Highway Trust is funded, is through gas,
right,
or through fuel tax. So then they need to raise it, and I guess the government figures, well, if we raise it on the commercial industry, there aren't as many voters in that sector as there are for.
Well, it didn't help that the diesel gas industry, those rigs got a lot more fuel efficient over the last 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually, I keep referring to YouTube channels, but there's a YouTube channel, I believe it's called ET Transport. And the guy went over it. So it's got to do with combination of speed, but also the engines. Mm-hmm. So he did a comparison where if a guy was going, I think it was 70 or 65, 70 miles an hour versus 55, 60. And the take home pay for the driver was like $2,000 more.
Wow.
Just by hitting that sweet spot at that 55, 60 mile an hour.
Mm-hmm.
That was when the truck used the least amount of fuel.
Yeah.
Setting the cruise, 55, 60. Don't go any faster.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it kind of prevents the turn and burn type driver who's just trying to get there as quick as he can.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say you get hit with like a $400 penalty because you got there a couple hours late with the load, but you saved yourself $2,000 in gas.
Yeah, it makes it.
You're going to take that hit just so you save money on the gas. It makes sense that way.
And I know some of the big companies like Schneider, ABF, JB Hunt. There was a really neat show back when the History Channel was still good, before it became all aliens and pawn shops and whatever. Mm-hmm. We were talking about the trucking industry and how the big companies, the trucks are linked into GPS, and when they're traveling through the Midwest where it's flat, they can remotely detune those engines to make them less powerful.
Yep.
Then when they hit the mountains, they can give them that power back, so that because they don't need the power to, and if it's not there, the driver isn't going to be able to use it. But where they need the power in the mountains to climb the hills, they give it back to them. Yeah,
in those cases, it's they do it with company drivers, not lease operators, though.
Right.
So a lease operator they make payments on their own truck,
mm-hmm.
but they're pulling the load for that company. So like Schneider could have company drivers driving Schneider trucks. I think Schneider's on the hook for the gas and all the other stuff, but the driver gets paid less.
Yeah.
Whereas a lease operator, he'll pull that same Schneider load,
mm-hmm.
but he's on the hook for gas, but he gets paid more.
Yeah,
but he also has to maintain his own truck.
Well, and it's funny you mention that, because a friend of mine started a car hauling business, so he had to get a DOT number and an IFTA sticker. And once he got that, he started getting emails and phone calls from Schneider, ABF, JB Hunt, some of the other big trucking companies saying, "Hey, we got loads. Can you pull them?" And he was doing a fifth wheel 3-car trailer on a dually. I think it was a F450.
I believe they call that hot shotting.
Yeah. So he was not towing big loads, but he's like, if the money they're talking about, I might go buy a truck and actually do this. So there's money in it, and if you're, but at that point the driver is more concerned about wasting his own fuel.
Yeah.
But they're also putting those trailer tails on the trucks now, which stinks because you can't draft them as easy. So, and then the fender skirts, and then the hubcaps that go over the entire wheel, just to reduce that. And it might seem minuscule, but when you multiply that out over thousands of miles, then that savings is actually it's realized.
Yep.
So, but I think with that's the protest we had here with the truckers, was the gas tax or some other, maybe it was a limitation on the hours they could drive, or whatever it was, is what would trigger those things. But in Canada it was a little bit different, because it was
this time around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was it's a vaccine for anyone who's been living under a rock. It's a vaccine mandate,
right?
Is what they were protesting, and their position was essentially they couldn't re-enter they couldn't re-enter Canada,
right?
And if you spend a lot of time on the highway, you will see commercial trucks with Ontario or Quebec or any Canadian plates. They're Canadian carriers.
Right.
Canadian carriers can drive throughout the United States. Mexican carriers cannot.
Which is strange.
Yeah. So the Canadian trucks can drive. They don't need to drop their load and go back. They can take a load from Windsor, Ontario, all the way to Miami, if that's where it's going. Whereas a Mexican truck, I think they're allowed 10 miles inside the border or something, then they have to drop it. But the problem with it that the Canadian truckers were having is that once they couldn't re-enter Canada without showing proof of vaccination.
Wasn't proof of vaccination or a 14-day quarantine, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is, for a trucker, 14 days, your paycheck's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And also the problem that they were having was that logically, they're like, we sit in a cab by ourselves. We're not
Right.
we're not driving around.
It's not the super spreader event they got going on.
Right. And then the other issue that they were, when you think about commerce, 90% of the Canadian population lives within 100 miles of the U.S. border.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the transit, the trade between the two countries is enormous. So all of these trucks are going to the United States at some point for the most part. So when you were to go to enact that against them, then it's like, well, hey, now we can't come back in. And I think a lot of it was just almost society as a whole coming to a head and being tired of some of this stuff, because Canada has been, we complain about lockdowns and masks and all this stuff, but Canada has been on a different level of lockdown than we've been on. So
I'd say they've been on par with California.
Yeah. Not quite Australia, but
Australia is a whole different can of worms. I mean, they had curfews, and like if you left your house, they put you in like a glorified summer camp cabin.
Yeah.
and I don't know for how long though, but I mean just for leaving your house.
Yeah, like, and you had to show like a reason to be more than a certain distance from your house, and if you didn't have, the police could stop you for any reason just to verify. Yeah. Like they didn't need any sort of probable cause to stop you, just that you were out and you were going to be stopped and detained until they determined whether you were allowed to be out or not.
To me, that country has been the most bizarre case throughout this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you wouldn't think a country like Australia would do that, for one, and two, you don't think like Australia was created as a prison island, basically.
Yeah,
like rebellious folks, like the U.S. is,
mm-hmm.
And they kind of just took it.
Yeah,
and it's like, wow,
rolled over. Look
how easy that was.
Yeah,
they just controlled an entire population.
Mm-hmm.
The movement of entire population.
Yeah,
and then I guess they had the more high profile case with Novak Djokovic.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't go play in the Australian Open because he didn't have the vaccine.
Yeah,
and so I guess that created a rift between Australia and Croatia, but he eventually got sent back,
mm-hmm.
and now he's saying he won't play in any tournament in which the country has a vaccine mandate.
Yeah,
and he goes, I guess like not just him, but with the truckers in particular, they're not anti-vax. I guess like 90% of the truckers are vaccinated.
Yeah.
Their biggest issue, and is very similar to here, is the mandate.
Yes.
It's telling people what to put in their body.
Right.
And it's funny because you're starting to see, and we always kind of point to the same liberal voices, Bill Maher,
mm-hmm.
right? It's funny to watch real time over the last month or two, because it seems like that whole kind of wing of the population is basically living now where the other side of the population was over a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
It's like, welcome to the ball game now. You're finally realizing what's already been known a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you weren't getting this information because the powers that be were claiming it as misinformation.
Yes.
Right. But before we go into that, I mean, we were still talking. So we were talking about the Canadian issue. And to be honest, I was really kind of shocked at what happened after the truckers got to Ontario. I mean, they protested in a really Canadian kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
I think they honked their horns every hour.
Yeah.
And they stopped at 10.
Yeah.
To be polite to the people. Like, yeah. It was like they only did it between the hours of 9 a.m. Right. and 10 p.m.
Right.
And then they stopped.
Yeah, it's like if you wouldn't run your leaf blower at this hour, we're not going to honk our horn.
Yes, it's very Canadian of them, very polite.
Mm-hmm.
But what came after kind of surprised me.
Yes.
It wasn't, hey, and the Prime Minister in particular, but like no one from his party sent anyone to go talk.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're at odds with somebody. This isn't like we're not going to negotiate with terrorists. Although, in the Prime Minister's words, he called them terrorists, misogynists, racists.
Nazis.
Well, I guess there was one guy that showed up with a Nazi flag.
Yeah, the protesters quickly policed it up, and
They kicked him the heck out.
yeah,
Now, some people think he was a plant, but regardless, the people that were there told him to get out. Mm-hmm. Like, this ain't your show.
yeah,
And again, that's so Canadian.
yeah.
Like, to be, hey, could you kind of pack up your flag there and head on home?
Hey.
Thank you. Appreciate you showing up, though. Just not your scene, bud. So they do that. And so then they try to say, well, someone urinated on a gravestone. Or it was like a veterans war memorial or something like that. Oh, he pissed on it. He's a criminal. He's a... but I mean, literally, it was almost like within a day of the convoy starting, they whipped out those key words: racist, misogynist. What was the other one? Trumpet, sure, Trumpist, or, but it's like, wow, your first reaction was just to try and demonize these people.
Yeah, and you know, when you look at how that protest was, I don't think that they were like, you're either going to lift, and then maybe their demands were, you lift this mandate and we're staying here until you lift it. But part of me wants to say, a good part of me would have predicted that had Trudeau just sat down with the organizers of it and they had a dialogue, they could have chalked it up as a win and left.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't do it. The first thing Trudeau did was run away and hide.
Well, apparently he got COVID conveniently at that time, so he had to.
Right.
But the funny part for me in all this is he didn't read the room. Mm-mm. Because within a week of that whole thing starting, and right after he called them all the names in the world, even the more liberal U.S. states started to relax their masking.
Yeah.
Like, I believe it was New Jersey and it wasn't
Delaware.
New Jersey and Delaware removed the mask mandate for schools.
Yep.
So here he is. He's got a vaccine mandate, and that I think their one demand was, we don't want the vaccine mandate to have to come back over the border.
Yeah.
That idea got shot down in court here, mm-hmm. And then even the more liberal states were removing the mask mandate for kids in schools.
Yeah.
And in general. And it's like, dude, if you just would have waited a week or two, you probably would have had the political cover to just say, oh, I'm going to go meet with them. You know what? They made some great points. We're going to remove this vaccine mandate.
Yeah.
Now you look like a human being.
Yeah.
That was reasonable.
Yeah.
But doing what he did, he looks like an immature brat because he looks like he's 12.
Right.
And he decided to take a hard stance. It's like, dude, you're not Australia. You got way too, if that's the way you wanted it to go, you got way too much land. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to a lot of Canada, they got a lot of rural populations out there. And good luck with that. Trying to police all this stuff. And then and then you're going to have, the supply lifeline go against you.
Yeah.
Which sounds like, oh, well, it's only about 20 truckers. No, this is more than 20 truckers.
Right.
This could affect goods and services, or goods coming into this country. Mm-hmm. Like, badly.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, we already got supply issues down here.
Yeah,
like,
true story.
Anyone that goes to a grocery store right now sees that certain things are missing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're not starving.
Right.
You can find some Cheerios. Mm-hmm. But, there might be lacking a little bit of chicken, might be lacking some beef on a certain day. It'll come 2-3 days from now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and this isn't because people are panic buying. Like, we had talked about that before. This is because of supply chain issues.
Yeah.
Straight up. And one of the things we talked about, because we talked about the gas issue back when there was the gas shortage. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we talked about was part of the problem was the trucker shortage. And back then though, it was due to like most of the retirements
Yeah.
during COVID. A lot of these guys, they were be able to collect unemployment. They realized that they didn't need to keep working. They could live off of what they made if they had stuff saved up. And to be honest with you, as a trucker, saving up isn't all that hard because most of them, they live pretty modestly. Their families are at home. They can live almost anywhere.
Yeah.
The long haul truckers, I mean. So they don't have big living expenses except for the truck itself. They're able to save some money.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them just said, I'm out. And I think we're still seeing that problem right now. So to have these truckers, any truckers at this point, you pulled 50 off the road. That's a lot.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a lot of loads. So I was just shocked at the way he went about it.
And then not only, and then the tactics the police use, they came in hard. I was not expecting that from Canadian police.
Yeah.
The way they came in, and then with the financial stuff, where if you supported this protest, you can have your assets frozen.
Yeah. So
Like, this is just, I mean, like all you needed was a fly swatter, and you're using an axe.
yeah. So you hit on a couple. So there's a couple points in your last sentence that are really important to know. The Canadian government had the bank suspend or freeze bank accounts of the truckers that were there and got arrested.
Mm-hmm.
GoFundMe had raised, I believe, $10 to $12 million. They wouldn't distribute it.
Correct.
Or actually, what they did was, and this is where they got really sneaky. They basically said people had X amount of days to request a refund, and they would refund. But there was a special link. You had to go through some hoops to get it. And by the certain date, they were just going to send it to a charity of their choice.
Right.
Which to me sounds like fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you took someone's money under one premise and then used it for another one.
Yeah.
That's fraud. Anyway, I digress. They're already getting looked into anyway.
Yeah.
I think I forgot which government agency is looking into them, but one of them is now opening an investigation in GoFundMe. And then I forgot the other thing, but essentially, like, so if you exercise your right to protest, the government can now freeze your bank accounts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now the other thing that happened was there's this lunatic computer hacker. I'm calling him a hacker. Rumor is he did some work for the Canadian government at one point in time, but he goes on TikTok and makes his videos and whatnot, and boasts about he hacked GoFundMe. I'm sorry, he hacked GiveSendGo.
GiveSendGo. Yeah.
And he released everyone's information who donated to those truckers.
Right. And now you have members of the media that are contacting these people.
Yeah.
The tweet or the one I've been seeing going around was the Salt Lake Tribune. A reporter from there emailed somebody and said, "Hey, I'm a reporter from the Salt Lake Tribune. Your information was released that you donated money to the Canadian truckers. Do you care to comment? Can you verify this? Please email or call." So they essentially all these people got doxxed, and that particular one was like a $50 donation. And if like, I don't think people realize that that's a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. So right now, like, I think there are cheerleaders, obviously this reporter who was doing that, and there are other cheerleaders on the left that are happy about this. They think this is great. But eventually the left isn't going to be as in power as they are now. And then the right's going to be in power. Well, now that sword is coming the other direction. So it's like when you choose to engage in it, then you have to own it on the other side. And I don't see them owning it on the other side. I think it's wrong in any case. If someone wants to donate to a cause, that's their business. But what does it become? Well, we've decided that we don't like a certain political candidate, and we're going to dox you if you support that candidate.
What about something like, what if you donate to the Fraternal Order Police?
Yeah.
And someone who's anti-police decides to hack into that database and puts all your information out there?
Yeah.
Or what about firefighters? I don't know. Maybe someone's pissed off at firefighters.
Or how about
someone doesn't like something that you donate to?
Yeah.
And you might think it's innocuous. You might think, oh, no one cares about this. No, I'm going to donate to St. Jude's.
Yeah. Oh, someone hates Catholics.
Or
On it.
Or maybe St. Jude's didn't save someone's kid and they go nuts.
Yeah.
Like, these are all the people that donated to murderers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's stretching it a bit. But I feel like, I mean, the one takeaway from this whole COVID thing is that never underestimate someone else's ability to be batshit crazy.
Yeah.
And what they'll do with that batshit craziness.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I'm not saying it's one side or the other. I really don't care. But people snap.
Yeah.
For less reasons than you might think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all fun and games until someone snaps on you.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, I'm sure a lot of people listening to this are probably, well, no one's going to snap on me. What am I doing?
Everyone likes me.
No one, I'm not doing anything controversial.
Right.
Well, maybe you buy products from, Google, and someone's really anti-Google.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure this is real hyperbole. I know,
Yeah.
I know this is like extreme crap that I'm talking about, but you just don't know.
Yeah.
And my thing is like what the left is doing to people on the right now, or I'm going to say supposed left and supposed right. The people that are doing it now better hope that when the other side gets in power, that they're not pensionless little children looking for payback.
Right.
Because what's the old, was it payback's hard and swift or something like that? I forgot what the
Oh yeah.
I forgot what the saying is, but or vengeance is sweet or something. I don't know. I'm sure some Confucius or something said something that sounded really smart, and I'm not coming across at all like that right now.
Right.
Which I shouldn't, because I'm not.
What is it? Revenge is a dish best served cold.
There we go. It's at least one of them. One saying got right. But you like, and I'm sure as soon as the tables turn, they're gonna be, oh my god, look at what they're doing. Look at this. I can't believe they're doing this. Really, you can't believe they're doing this after what you did?
Yeah.
For the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think, getting back to the, if you have someone that says, oh, I'm not that controversial. I don't hold any crazy opinions. But what happens if it's something that you feel strongly about, that you want to speak on, and you're afraid that if you come out against whatever the narrative is being pushed, or for a particular candidate or whatever it is, that you're going to get doxxed. So then you're going to self-censor. Or, say 45 runs again, and people are terrified that, like, hey, I don't want it to be because of whatever industry they work in. They don't want to be associated with, but they like the guy. They're not going to, maybe they won't contribute to his campaign because they don't want to get doxxed.
Or maybe, look, let's just say, for example, let's say someone did donate to 45. Say he loses again, whatever reason. Someone decides to dox everyone that donated to his campaign, and lunatics like Antifa come to your town.
Yeah.
And again, for people who don't think that's real, just do a DuckDuckGo search for Portland Antifa. But you might want to do that while connected to a virtual private network. No, the one I use is Private Internet Access. They are a sponsor of this show. For as little as $2.50 a month, you can sign up for a VPN. And Private Internet Access is extremely easy to use for people that don't know how to use one. For example, when I go online, when I'm searching for Disney bouquets and cupcakes and unicorns and rainbows, being the masculine man that I am, I don't want people to know about that. So I use a VPN, kind of hide who I am a little bit while I'm searching the unicorns. But it's a nice way to, when I'm paying for the oversized unicorn, I want to make sure my credit card information is safe. And so when I do that, when I have the VPN turned on, I know my credit card information, the CVV code on the back, the expiration date. It's all encrypted as it's going through the interweb. No one can pick it up, and I know my purchase is going to be a nice experience, and I'm not going to have my card on the dark web, and I'm not going to lose any money. Which, as if you've heard on this podcast before, it has happened to me before. It happened with my debit card. Luckily, the guy got caught. We got our money back. But look, get yourself a VPN, private internet access. Go to dumbideapodcast.com, click on the private internet access ad on the right-hand side, and get yourself a VPN. Even if you only do it for a month, that's just to give it a try. We do earn commissions on those purchases, so you'll be helping the show out. Also, on the dumbideapodcast.com, you can click on the donate link. If you'd like to, you can do a monthly, either $1, $2, or $5 a month if you want to help out the show. Or you can do a one-time donation of, I believe we've got it set up for $2 or $5 for a one-time donation. Buy us a cup of coffee if you like listening to the show. And that's something new we're going to try, see if we can make that work. If not, no big deal. All right. Go to the dumbideapodcast.com, check out all those links. And now let's talk about more depressing stuff like Convoy truckers.
First of all, that segue was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
You would have made the Daily Wire proud on that one. So, yeah, right in there.
I was like, wait a minute. We're talking about doxing?
Yeah.
Let's get the VPN ad in there.
Good idea, though. Very good idea. But, yeah, segue was great. I'm blown away by it. So, but
It'll never happen again. It'll never be that smooth again.
But my concern again is, if you have people that are, if it's going to stifle speech now, yet another way to do it. You've got, you have people who are more in the public law, and you really have to be in the public sphere to get canceled. They're regular average people that get canceled. I've heard it among the right, like that person should lose their job. Which because someone is you disagree with them, or maybe they're just an asshole, doesn't necessarily mean you lose their job. Like, where did that even come into this?
So being an asshole is not criteria enough, because I'll get doxxed in like 2 minutes.
Right.
I've been plenty asshole enough to enough people that hopefully they're not looking up my data.
Right. But hey, as long as you're on the VPN, you're good.
I'm all right.
But yeah, I look at it like, it goes to. I heard it on Fox News. They were saying it like, oh, that person should lose their job. Where did that even factor into it? That your employment is contingent upon, because they're the ones who are always talking about social credit. Mm-hmm. Oh, we're looking at they're really trying it with social credit. Okay, well you're doing the same thing that you're accusing the left of doing when you start talking like that.
Well, what? Because you're going to make Johnny lose his job at Burger King, and that's really going to change his viewpoint. Is that what you're after? You're after him to make it so that he can't express his views.
Yeah,
and by chopping him off from Burger King, that's where he thought he was the Burger King. Right. That's gonna stop him from posting stuff on Reddit,
right?
About whatever the thing is you hate. It's like, come on, man. Or the IT guy. Yeah, sure, he makes $90,000 a year, and he'll get hired tomorrow by someone else after his 5 minutes of shame are gone.
Yeah,
or whatever it is.
Yeah, which he'll probably get interviewed on a couple. Like whether it's depending on what side he falls on. If he's a right wing guy, he'll get interviewed by OAN and Newsmax and maybe make the weekend cut at Fox News and get just 5 minutes of fame and then roll on and get hired someplace else. And is it accomplishing anything? But, they should lose their job. Some people are assholes, and you're going to find them everywhere.
Never mind the fact. In this economy, nobody's losing their job.
Yeah.
Because nobody can find anyone to come and work. And to be honest with you, at this point, I don't think it's because nobody wants to work. I just think we've talked about this before. I don't think there's enough workers in the workforce.
Yeah.
To fill the jobs, or there's a skills gap, or whatever it is. But I was watching another YouTube channel, a guy named Peter Santinello, and he went into some Compton neighborhoods, and there were minority guys there. I think they were in the Crips or something like that. And one of them worked at FedEx as a driver. And he goes, "How is it there?" And Peter asked him how it was. He goes, "Great. They treat me good. Pays real good." He goes, and then they started asking, "Is it hard to get a job?" And the guy's like, "Heck no." He goes, "We're hiring like crazy, and they're good paying jobs." He goes, "If people want to work, they can work." So it's one of those things where I just don't. All that stimulus money's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been gone.
Oh yeah.
I think people are going to get more of an awakening when the child care tax credit goes away. That they're basically fronting it to you. I think people are going to be a little surprised when they do their tax returns this year, and realize that like, think about that credit. It's not a deduction. It's a credit. So I want to say it was like $1,500 a kid, but they were giving it to you in $300 chunks.
Yeah.
So if you got $1,200 or your $1,500 that you were expecting to come back to you, well, you already got it.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get it come April. So you might actually owe.
Yeah.
If you were only looking at a $1,000 or $2,000 return, well, you already got it.
Yeah.
So you might owe $500 or something. And I think people are going to be surprised by that. I wouldn't be surprised if there was another news cycle come April, or April or May, about people being surprised about their tax returns. But that's a whole nother topic altogether.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, with the truckers in Canada, I was not that I was surprised with the protest, because especially with truckers are pissed. They're a surly bunch to begin with.
Yeah.
But then you're messing with their paycheck. And I know some people are, but all they had to do was get vaccinated. Well, 90% of these guys already were.
Yeah.
They can come and go as they please. They got their vaccination, but they're still in Ottawa, idle in their truck, and pissed.
Yeah.
And the approach that they took to me, and maybe I shouldn't be surprised, because I saw it much worse in the Australian news. And this is where we talked about the media. I don't think certain parts of the media show anything about Australia.
No.
And what's going on there. I don't think they showed anything about the protests in France.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they're framing the protest in Canada as petulant children who are against vaccine mandates.
Yeah.
And that side thinks the vaccine mandates are great.
Yeah, they do. And,
But it's not winning in political polls, though, that's for sure.
No, they're getting spanked.
Yeah.
And that's where you get into, when you look at some of where they're saying the science has changed. And I've seen a whole bunch of funny, the political science has changed.
Yeah.
Or, science now recognizes that the midterms are in November.
Well, primaries are happening now.
Yeah.
They're campaigning now.
Yep. And, generally the party in power, whoever has the White House gets smacked in the midterms.
Right.
I think it's going to be especially bad during this midterms.
They're pissing off way too many groups of people.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to do, the My Body, My Choice people aren't happy because you're trying to do vaccine mandates.
Yeah.
And even if some of that crowd is on board with vaccine mandates, they realize that they really can't be.
Yeah.
Because of their stance on abortion. If you're pro-choice, you really can't be, pro-vaccine mandate.
Yeah. And I'd like to see where some of the people are who are anti-vaxxers, like Jenny McCarthy. Because she was like very vocal.
Well, she was the one that spread the nonsense that vaccines cause autism.
Yeah.
She was onto that nonsense,
Yes.
which was debunked by a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, the guy who came out with the study was like essentially defrocked from academia because it figured out that he fabricated the entire thing.
Yeah. She kept on with that.
It's funny how they just stay with it. It's like the
They
Russia
double down. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's like the Russia collusion thing. Like that's still Russia collusion. That's an interesting. It's like a fair, like a Lollapalooza, Russia collusion.
Well,
but
that backfired. I mean, didn't that? Well, I'm sure it didn't backfire.
But it's not getting any coverage.
It's getting no coverage.
And then this whole what is it?
Completely fabricated, and it was fabricated by a certain individual.
And then the Durham report's now out.
That's the one. That's what I mean. Like, she basically paid for the entire thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say her name because I don't want to die tomorrow.
You don't get shot in the. You don't want to shoot yourself in the back of the head twice.
I don't want to be. I don't want to find myself hung, because. By the way, did you hear about Epstein's associate?
Yeah.
Hung in prison.
Yeah.
Wow, that's familiar.
Yeah. And there's no bed sheets even in the cell.
Like, okay, how are we? even let's say the guy did kill himself. It's awfully sketchy. I'm sorry.
You'd think if you cared, you would be watching that dude like a hawk.
Yeah.
Like, you're not even allowed to brush your own teeth, dude. Like, we're gonna brush your teeth for you and wipe your butt for you.
What are you gonna hang yourself with? No sheets, no shoelaces,
and they'll give him.
Someone had to give him something.
Well, they'll give them paper. So in the hospital, they're paper scrubs. And they'll give these guys who are on that high level of watch a paper jumpsuit. So, like, it can't support weight to even, but the thing is, people think when you hang yourself that like you just tie something up on a rafter and jump off. Like,
right.
No, like you can use a doorknob and a shoestring.
Right. And
just lean into it. And then once oxygen's cut off, gravity takes over, you just lean further into it, and that's that. But, they think that, but with paper scrubs, like, that's going to tear. That's why they give it to, they put people. So you'd think they'd have them, if the dude didn't have bed sheets, you'd think he'd be in that level of precaution. But
the amount of people that die around that couple is really coincidental.
We know it's funny because Alex Jones was talking about that years ago.
Yeah.
And we've made fun of Alex Jones before.
Yes.
But, he was like, oh, Epstein's got Sex Island and they're all going out there and he's compromising people. And next thing you know, like, holy shit, that dude was right.
You want to know who he reminds me of? Do you remember the guy who played Norm, George Wendt? And when he was on Saturday Night Live, or the bear doing the Bears,
Da Bears,
Da Bears,
yeah.
And then toward the end, he's like pounding on his chest. He goes, "Are you all right?" He goes, "I'm just having a heart attack."
Yeah, yeah.
He says, "Give me a minute. I'll be all right." Wait, yeah, okay, we're good now. It's like Alex Jones reminds me of that character.
Yeah,
like I feel like every time I see him on something, like I feel like he's gonna have a heart attack. Yeah. Because like his face goes purple. It's like, wow, man, breathe.
He's like taking his shirt off, but then it's funny because he sells like gym supplements.
Yeah,
and it's like, do you even lift? It's the old, do you even lift, bro? Like,
right?
Because he's selling all these supplements.
It's like, I don't know if you should be the spokesperson on this one.
Like, Alex Jones brand pre-workout. Like, what is that? Cocaine?
Right. Pre-workout means you don't have to work out.
Right. But it is all these things that were misinformation and disinformation a year ago are now, they're going and saying that, oh no, that's the science now. And then when you watch the Super Bowl, for example, and you see all the celebrities and the mayors and all these, no, there wasn't a mask in that place. And I'm not the guy to mask shame anyone.
No.
But I think I'm more offended. Like, do you think we're all that stupid?
They do.
That's what's so, like, I want to ask people, like, who were just, like the cult of COVID. Like, are you that stupid? Like, look at them. They aren't following the rules they're making you follow, and you're shaming people for it. And the people who have inspired you to do this aren't even doing it.
I'm over here laughing. The reason why is so I guess Mayor Garcetti, LA Mayor, Los Angeles Mayor Garcetti was at the Super Bowl. Took a picture with Magic Johnson, no masks, right? Mm-hmm. You want to know what his excuse was?
He said he held his breath.
Held his breath. Yeah, I held my breath.
It's like that.
What?
Like,
wait a minute. What do you mean you held your breath?
My 7-year-old would be like, would call me out on that one.
Right. Right. It's like, wow, you think people are that dumb?
Yeah. I held my mask here, and during the photo, I held my breath.
Yeah, meanwhile, there was no mask in the picture anywhere.
Right.
It's like, what do you mean? You had it in your pocket? Yeah. Like, yeah, I don't know. What about Magic Johnson? Because I didn't see a mask near him either.
No, it doesn't.
Or you either, Governor.
Yeah, and isn't Magic Johnson like immunocompromised?
Yes.
Last time I checked.
Yes, he is.
And he's pudged up a little bit. He's chunked up a little.
Well, he's got to be in his 60s by now.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens to a man of a certain age. You get a little round.
Right.
You know, I mean, but yeah, I mean, the man's had HIV for 25 years.
Yeah.
Roughly. I'm going to say probably longer than that, maybe 30.
Yeah, it's been since the 90s, so I think I think that's about right.
We're working on 30 years with HIV.
Yeah.
I mean, and good for him. I mean, he found the cure, I guess the cure or whatever they'll let you live with for the longest time.
Well, it probably helps that he was really rich.
It doesn't hurt things.
Yeah.
It certainly doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's almost like they don't see the optics.
Like they're so blind that they're so out of touch that
they'll understand. I was in the suites.
Yeah, well,
there's no COVID in the suites.
Well, yeah, they're the specials.
I was like,
and they're
wow.
out. Yeah,
but this kind of goes back to like, I bet you that's part of the truckers' problem, and not just the truckers, but like blue collar Canada, blue collar America. You know, whether political elites or academia elites want to believe it or not, one, these people vote.
Yeah.
And two, they're just not as dumb as you want to think they are.
Yeah.
I mean, are they going to be able to recite
Voltaire,
War and Peace, or Hamlet, or whatever? Are they going to be able to? No. But they can fix your car in about an hour.
Yeah.
And they can go and pull a voting lever.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make them any less than. You know, and look, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not a blue collar worker.
Mm-hmm.
But for me to think that someone's beneath me because I went and got a 4-year degree somewhere, that's beyond arrogance.
Yeah.
Beyond it.
Well, and the thing is, they look down on these people that work with their hands. It's like they're the unclean, the ignorant, unclean,
right.
and
they have to save these people.
Yeah, and
from
to
themselves.
me, like I've read. I'm fairly well read. You know, I know a lot about history and
more reading than I do in there.
Yeah, but the thing is, of all that education and my well-readitude, there we go. There's a word for you that I just made up.
Actual word.
Yeah, it is now.
Yep.
For all that, has knowing how to change brakes has saved me a lot more money than knowing that stuff. You know, and getting my hands dirty. You know, figuring stuff out like that. Like that to me is almost more satisfying than.
Yeah, but the people that they detest are the people that they claim they represent.
Yeah.
Like, the Democrat Party was supposed to be the representative of the blue-collar workers, the union workers, right? Mm-hmm. And they've done everything to screw them. Well, or to just dismiss them.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. When you look at the left, you know, the whole workers of the world unite, it doesn't get much more workers of the world than blue-collar truck drivers.
Yep.
And here they are, they united. To me, you'd think they'd be cheerleaders. Nope. Let's sick the riot police on them.
It is amazing that when people go to protest something that they don't think should be protested for, how quickly they think it should be squashed in a minute.
Yeah.
But the minute that the protesting is for something these politicians believe in, oh yeah, they do. They have, it's their American right to protest.
Yes.
Or their Canadian right to protest.
Yeah.
And police should do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing at all.
Yeah. And the police that do anything about it are evil.
They're horrible people.
Yeah.
How dare they? Fascists.
Yeah.
That's what they are. They're fascists.
Mm-hmm.
They're tyrannical police departments. How
Yeah.
dare they do this to these completely innocent people that just, they lit a little fire to stay warm at night. That's all.
Yeah.
It might have spread to the 7-Eleven, but that doesn't matter.
Right.
That wasn't their fault.
And meanwhile, it's the mayors and the elected representatives of these cities and towns that are vilifying the police that they're in charge of.
Well,
Who hired the police? Who runs? You do,
right.
but you're not going to own it.
Well, and sometimes, and like, I don't know if, I hate to use the word wake up, right? It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But earlier this week, or late last week, and today is the 22nd of February, out in San Francisco, 3 Board of Education members got recalled.
Yes.
Or is it recalled? Not recalled.
No, they did. They did a recall election.
But they're not elected. So is it really recall?
School board is, yeah.
They just got ousted.
Yeah, but they actually had to do the recall campaign, and they were, because they're elected, they're minor office holders, but California has these weird recall rules.
Yeah. But there were only 3 that were eligible.
Yeah.
And all 3 got the boot.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, they called everyone racist, misogynist for doing it. Sexist, of course, because the 3 were women.
Yeah.
And someone posted the voting results. It's like, wow, 70% of the population is racist, misogynist, and sexist?
Yeah.
Because it was like all 3 got ousted by a minimum of 70% to 30.
Mm-hmm.
30%.
Yeah.
Like 70% of the people wanted you out. And it's like, when that happens in San Francisco of all places, let me tell you, if you're a left Democrat right now and you're up for election in November, man, you better tack back to the middle real quick.
Yeah. Well, I think, you can already see that they're starting to walk back.
Well, yeah.
Defund the police. They've been oh, that wasn't us. We didn't.
I can't believe they said that.
We didn't do that. It's like, well, no, you guys.
They should. There's receipts. There's the internet. People have receipts.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, they'll say, Nancy Pelosi will come out and say, well, that didn't come out of this Congress. Well, no, it didn't come out of Congress, but you guys supported it, with your attitudes and what you were saying. And then when all these, and the federal government, yeah, they do fund local governments to an extent, but local governments are the ones who decide how those budgets are made. So it was local governments that your party was in charge of that did it. So how are you going to go and say that it wasn't us? Like, no, we watched you do it.
Right.
Like, so, yeah, I don't know what they're, how,
There's going to be a documentary one day. All the information about who was behind what. Because look, this is the era of WikiLeaks. Information is going to come out.
Yeah.
Eventually. And you gotta hope that people either just forget and don't care, or that it's not as bad as you think it is. For example, of all the things that they accused Trump of, the Russian collusion thing, keep in mind, wasn't that the Mueller investigation? Wasn't that what that was for?
The Mueller investigation was done as in response to it.
Okay. That was 2 years.
Yeah.
They used 2 years and a whole lot of money.
Whew.
And come to find out that it was the Democrat candidate for president who paid to basically make it all up.
Yeah.
Like, if I was a member of Congress and I bid on this hook, line, and sinker, and I was in that party, I'd be pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Because they used you like a pawn.
Mm-hmm.
and you bid on it hook, line, and sinker because you were a true believer.
Yeah.
We talk about true believers a lot. Like the cults, like cult doesn't mean necessarily that it's an organized group. Like there are celebrities that have cult followings.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, God forbid you say anything bad about Beyonce. And I'm not saying anything bad about Beyonce because I don't want that kind of backlash, but I'm just saying the Beehive will come at you hard.
Yeah.
It's not an organized group. There might be some fan club, but geez, if you say something about Beyonce, they come after you hard.
Yeah.
Well, politicians have their own beehive. Rock stars, beehives. Anyone with any public TikTokers have beehives.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got their own and I don't think they really understand. But if I was, let's say, was it Adam Schiff? See the Democrat guy?
Yeah.
Let's say I'm Adam Schiff. I put my name on the line for that person.
Yeah.
And investigated the bananas out of it. Now I look like an idiot.
Yeah, I don't think they're that. I think that they're so arrogant.
They probably don't think.
And I don't think they're self-aware enough to realize they look like idiots.
You're right.
Because they're in that echo chamber. Everyone that they deal with either lives in one of 3, maybe 4 cities.
Yep.
It's either New York, DC, Los Angeles, and then you could probably split San Francisco and Chicago. But that's where they're all from. They don't they live in DC, they live in New York, they live in Los Angeles, or they fly back and forth, and they're only surrounded by people that think and act like they do.
Right.
So they'll just, well, you see it all the time, where they'll flip flop on, one issue or another, and they'll show tape of them. When they're saying that, we can't end we can't end the filibuster, and then now they want to end the filibuster, but they have no principles. They just go with the political winds.
Yep.
And I love seeing it. There was I think Jimmy Dore did it, where he went through and collected all the tweets from and just went, and they hate it when it happens to them, but they don't. Some of them just pretend it didn't happen. That didn't happen. No, it's right here.
Yeah.
Nope, didn't happen. That wasn't me. No, it's clearly you.
Well, I think it was that whole thing where they were talking about how people inciting violence, and so then they showed the clip of Maxine Waters.
Yeah.
Inciting violence.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "That wasn't me." What? That's you on the video. Wasn't me.
Yeah.
She pulled the Shaggy response.
Yeah.
Like, that was her defense.
Yeah.
Wasn't me.
Well, have you seen? And
no, I'm pretty sure that's you.
Yeah. My wife was watching it. It was this movie the other day. It was on. I don't watch movies when there's commercials in it because I can't stand it. But she was watching Bridesmaids, and there's a part where they're flying to Las Vegas, and they're all in first class except for Kristen Wiig. Yeah. And she comes up and she just sits down, and the flight attendant is like, "You have to go back to coach, man." She goes, "No, I'm not me." Like, I'm not me. Right. Yes, you are. You're. Nope, wasn't me. I'm not me. But she at least had an excuse. She had downed a whole bunch of Xanax and washed it down with scotch, so she had an excuse.
She was still alive at the end of that flight. But yeah, so I guess we started off with the Canadian truckers, and yeah, I guess I'm more in shock at the way it was, just how that was handled by the Canadian government.
Yeah,
but I was also, you just wonder if that kind of style is going to come here, or if it already has, and we just don't know. I wonder if like years from now, like a lot of truths will start coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're now 2 years after COVID started, and like truths start coming out, and now accepted truths. I'm not gonna say truths are just coming out. Now they're just being accepted.
Right.
Like the whole possibility that the virus came from a lab. Like that was misinformation to you.
Oh, that would have gotten you kicked off of all social media 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then when they said, when people were saying, "Hey, you have to look at these numbers. I don't think they're right. No, the numbers are fine. The numbers are great. And now all of a sudden they say, oh, we were counting people who were admitted with COVID when it should have been from COVID.
Right.
We just screwed up the preposition there. So, but people were saying like, hey, you're incentivizing spiking the numbers. Like there are people that worked in hospitals that are saying you're incentivizing this. Someone comes in and dies from a car accident, but they have COVID, cause death COVID.
Well, and in the last week, they've put out information saying that, I think this is more in reference to other SARS COVID viruses,
Mm-hmm.
and mostly in reference, I believe it was which one was like the early 2000s? Was it the bird?
There was H1N1, which was one of them.
Yeah,
and then there was like swine flu was another one,
something like that. But from one of those other SARS ones, they said people who had it, who had gotten it and survived, and they said that they had people that had it had natural immunity. They had the T cells still in their body
mm-hmm.
for over 7 years after. And they were basically equating that, saying, look, natural immunity is strong, and it doesn't wane after a couple months. But they're also saying that it's powerful against variants.
Yeah.
Not powerful. They're saying that natural immunity helps better against variants than the vaccine does.
Yeah.
And you say that a year ago.
Oh.
I mean,
yeah.
You may find yourself in some hot water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But hopefully
look at chickenpox immunity. I'm immune from chickenpox.
Yeah, hopefully I am.
Lifetime.
I got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully things end well for the Canadian truckers, although I got a feeling that it might not, especially if their bank accounts are frozen. Plus, Canada has civil asset forfeiture.
Yeah.
Which that's no fun.
Mm-mm.
That means that basically Canada can go take all their assets and doesn't have to release them.
Yeah.
Until they're found innocent. So, good luck to those truckers up in Canada. If you're a trucker and listen to this show, we appreciate you. And if you're worried about having your internet traffic tracked, use a VPN, private internet access. Go to dumbideapodcast.com and go ahead and click on the advertisement. We do get a commission, but we do appreciate it. And if you just want to donate to the show, please feel free to do that at dumbideapodcast.com/donate. And we will see you next time.